All right, so in today's quick tip, we're going to be learning this easy version of an Oscar Peterson lick. So Oscar, actually, with his prodigious technique, really does this. Right, really. And I'm going to explain how to practice that in the practice actions back at Jazzedge Academy. So if you're interested in that, just go back to that link and you'll be able to get the sheet music and the practice actions and all that. All right, so anyway, let's break down this lick step by step. First of all, this lick works great over a minor 2-5. Hey, what's a minor 2-5? So if I was in going to a 2-5 in G major, that would be like an A minor 7 to a D7 to a G major. A minor 2-5 is rather than playing A minor 7, we do A minor 7 flat 5, and typically on the dominant 7th we do a flat 9, and then we go to 1 minor. Right? So this is a great lick that works over a minor 2-5. You can also alter it to make it work over a major 2-5. Anyway, we're going to stick with the minor 2-5. All right, so you could do just the root and the flat 5th for the minor 7 flat 5 chord. You could also kind of make it a little bit more dense by doing that. However, that's a little too low down there. So you could do something like this in which you do the 7th there with the flat 5 and the root. But the problem is the lick is going to start on that G. So we just hit the root in the flat 5. Okay, and then this is ba triplet, ba triplet, 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 di ba. So we vocalize this by saying triplet, triplet, triplet. If you're not familiar with the vocalization approach, take a look at my lesson, Mastering Rhythms, Volume 1 and Volume 2. We go through all of the different vocalizations so you know how to vocalize your rhythms. So it starts on G. You go to C, middle finger on E flat, and then cross underneath with your thumb, second finger, middle, pinky, middle, second, thumb, and then you can go to your middle finger on the F sharp. And of course these voicings you're welcome to change. We're just keeping these simple voicings for right now. Ba triplet, 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 di ba. 3, 4. Ba triplet, 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 di ba. And don't worry, in the practice actions I'll break all of this down for you. Ba triplet, 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 di ba. Willie, you're not holding that A out for the full, 4 beats there. You don't have to. You can play it short, or if you want to hold it out, it's fine as well. All right, so that's the lick in G minor. That's a 2-5. We would go A minor 7 flat 5, D7, and we would end up resolving to G minor. So it's always important to take these licks and transpose them to other keys. That's really how you really get the most of the benefit out of learning these licks. So before we transpose it, let's go back and let's analyze that lick for a second, because really we want to figure out, well, what are we doing and how can we make it, easier so that we can move it into another key. Well, if we take a look at this, what is this chord? Let me help you out. I'm going to get rid of the G. What's that chord? It's just a C minor triad. So basically what's happening here is Oscar is playing a C minor triad over an A minor 7 flat 5. Now think about how well that works. That's the 3rd, the flat 5th, and the 7th. And then just doubles the 5th of the C minor triad, which happens to be the 7th of A minor 7 flat 5. I know that gets a little confusing at times, but let's just think about that for a second. This is my C minor triad. That'd be root 3 and 5, or root flat 3 and 5 for a C minor triad. However, when I play it over an A minor 7 flat 5, these notes function differently, which means that rather than this being the root, the flat 3rd, and the 5th, this is now the flat 3rd of A, the flat 5 of A, and the flat 7 of A. And all I'm doing down here is I'm just doubling that flat 7 down here. Right there, you got yourself a nice minor 7 chord voicing right there. You could always put your thumb right there. There's a nice minor 7 flat 5 chord voicing. And in the rhythm, ba triplet, 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 D. And we go to the 3rd of the D up to the 5th. And at this point, you can do whatever you wanted from there. This is just kind of like a starter here, all right? All right, so now let's move this into another key. Here we're moving it into D minor. That means we're going to play an E minor 7 flat 5 to an A7 flat 9, got it, to a D minor. All right, so let's just start with that E minor 7 flat 5. what minor triad do we have to build? Well, remember, what did Oscar do when he played the minor triad over the A minor 7 flat 5? It was a minor triad, C minor triad. So that's built on the what? On the flat 3. So if I go up to my flat 3 of E, which is G, and I make a minor triad, and all I do is I just double that top note, okay? I now have this G minor triad that works perfectly over that E minor 7 flat 5. Right? I can also come down here and play the A as well. So if I didn't want to play the root flat 5 like that and come up here, I could also just play root in 3rd to root in 7th. Okay, so there it is in D minor. And finally, let's talk about an alternate way of playing this. Well, like I said, we could come down here and kind of play the root 3rd, or in this case, I'm playing the root 7. But I'm going to play that root 7 quickly, right? Because I'm going to hit this D right here, and that D is the same as this top note right here. So if I, right, could you see what I do is I brought this whole lick and I'm bringing it down an octave. That's what that 8VB means, right, underneath here. So bring all of this down 1 octave. So rather than playing it up here, I'm going to play it starting down here. Because sometimes I don't want to play a lick that high. I might want to play it a little bit lower. So it's important that you learn not just how to play a lick, you know, where you're originally learning it, but also learn how to move it around on the keyboard, okay? So maybe you're playing it higher, maybe you're playing it lower. Also make sure that you're transposing it into other keys. That's going to help you to be able to really master that lick and bring it into your playing. Otherwise, what might happen is you get out on a gig or you're, you know, jamming with some friends and it's in a different key and you think, oh, I know what it is, I understand the theory. Yeah, but if you haven't played it, you're probably going to mess it up. And especially like if you move it like higher or lower, it might mess with your ears and you might mess it up that way as well. All right, so anyway, if you're interested in the practice actions, make sure you go back to jazzedge.academy/the quick tips, and we're going to break this all down. You'll be able to get all the sheet music and all of the practice actions. So thank you very much for joining. I'll see you in the next quick tip.